As the students complete their training, teacher Megan instructs them to keep their newfound knowledge a secret from their parents. The harsh reality of Wayward Pines' origins drives some parents to finish their lives. Megan emphasizes that the future of the town rests in the hands of these young people. The training results in a grand ceremony where the students welcome the newcomers with applause and lit candles, symbolizing the start of a new era. Meanwhile, Ethan, surrounded by the menacing sounds of mutants, hesitantly follows David's urgent advice to leave and boards the helicopter. Inside, he meets Pam and witnesses several mutants emerge from the forest. The helicopter flies over Wayward Pines, landing near a cliff where David leads Ethan to the true control center. There, Ethan sees over 200 volunteers working to provide the necessary supplies for the town's survival. In the medical room, Pam, revealed as David's sister, treats Ethan's wound caused by an Abby. She explains David's plan for Ethan to join their efforts in safeguarding Wayward Pines. While left alone, Ethan hears a scream and heads towards it. Then, he discovers an aggressive Abby contained in a glass chamber. David and guards manage to subdue the creature with freezing gas. David then shares with Ethan the extensive research on the Abbeys and his predictions about their emergence due to Earth's devastated environment. When his warnings were ignored by the international community, David established the laboratory to protect a portion of the population using cryogenic technology, laying the groundwork for the creepy and mysterious world of Wayward Pines. The plot continues to unfold with a mix of intrigue and tension. Ted, a delivery man, visits Kate's shop and informs her and her husband that he couldn't locate McCall's package, which is vital for their plan. Kate realizes that the package is in McCall's office, now occupied by Teresa. Meanwhile, Teresa is investigating a mysterious area referred to as Plot 33, a task given to her by Henrietta, a former disgruntled realtor. However, her boss, Bill, catches her and confiscates the file, warning her to avoid examining plot maps unless explicitly told to do so. Kate then tactically invites Teresa for coffee, using this as a distraction to enable Ted to steal the package from Teresa's office. During their meeting, Kate tries to mend fences with Teresa over her past affair with Ethan and suggests they join forces to discover the truth about Wayward Pines. Meanwhile, Ted successfully retrieves the package and discreetly hands it over to Kate's husband, Harold, who appears to be constructing a music box bomb from the contents. At the base, Ethan and David delve deeper into the facility, eventually reaching an area where an individual has been asleep in a hibernation chamber for 2,000 years. Ethan then discovers the surveillance center, revealing the extensive security measures monitoring the town. He is disturbed to find a storage room full of hibernation chambers, including one holding a young girl. David recounts the early days of the project, explaining his recruitment of volunteers and the subsequent need to kidnap people when volunteer numbers were insufficient. He reveals that Arnold, initially a security guard, was offered a job to assist in kidnapping and placing individuals into hibernation. Ethan questions the ethics of forcing people into Wayward Pines without their consent. David shares that he and Pam were among the first to awaken, and that they spent 2 years building Wayward Pines before reviving others. Ethan expresses his desire to end the surveillance and disclose the truth to the residents, but David explains the practical challenges. He recounts how the first group of awakened residents reacted poorly to learning the truth, leading to deaths from both Abby's attacks and self-termination of lives. David views Ethan as key to maintaining the town's safety, particularly against a group of residents plotting against it. He believes the children, the first generation to grow up in Wayward Pines, will eventually be able to handle the truth. David then instructs Ethan to keep the town's secrets, but Ethan, feeling compelled to share the shocking truth, confides in his wife, Teresa. However, Teresa struggles to believe him, suspecting that Ethan's mind has been altered by the town's authorities. The next day, Ethan's car fails to start, leading him to advise Teresa and Ben to walk to school. His suspicion proves to be well-founded when he later discovers a bomb planted in his car. Ethan's investigation into the bomb leads him to a man named Franklin, listed in the town's records as a bomb engineer. When Ethan confronts Franklin, he refuses to provide any information and quickly departs. Ethan, distrustful of Franklin's behavior, follows him and eventually encounters Harold. Ethan detains and questions Harold about the members of the rebellious group, but Harold insists he is acting alone. Ethan releases Harold, giving him a note to pass to Kate. Meanwhile, Teresa, after dropping Ben at school, investigates Plot 33. She uncovers something buried under the ground, finding a metal object beneath the surface. When she later tells Bill about her discovery, he hesitates to discuss it and warns her against further exploration. Bill subtly signals to a hidden microphone, indicating they are being watched, which leads Teresa to stop asking further. In Megan's class, the students are told they are destined to produce the town's first-generation children, suggesting future partnerships may arise from within the class. Amy, expressing her growing feelings for Ben, seeks Megan's advice on whether she can ask him out. Kate, accepting her role as a leader of the rebellion, visits Ethan at his home. Ethan has removed the surveillance devices, allowing Kate to speak candidly. Despite Ethan's insistence that the current year is 4028, Kate remains skeptical. Ethan offers forgiveness if Kate turns over the remaining bombs. She agrees, but later, back at her toy store, she confides in Harold that they need to accelerate their plan, as Ethan has become part of the town. Ethan picks up Ben from school, while Harold hands a music box bomb to Ted in a restaurant. Ted, revealed as the one who planted the bomb in Ethan's truck, hides the music box bomb in his vehicle. That night, Kate, Franklin, and other team members, excluding Harold and Ted, plant the bomb along the town's fence. Ethan, arriving armed, demands they defuse the bomb. When Kate refuses, Ethan holds her at gunpoint, forcing Franklin to disarm it. After the bomb is defused, Ethan locks the group in the prison, isolating Kate. He urges her to convince the team to stop their actions, emphasizing that returning to their previous lives is no longer possible. Kate, however, declares that their efforts will continue, revealing Harold's absence and the existence of another bomb. The suspense continues to build as Ethan collaborates with Nurse Pam to track down Harold using CCTV footage. They discover Harold passing a bomb to Ted. In a race against time, Ethan attempts to intercept Ted, but Ben and Amy, unaware of the danger, sneak out and hide in Ted's truck. They inadvertently discover the music box bomb, and Amy triggers it while they start to make out. Ethan's efforts to reach them in time are frustrated by an intervening group, and the truck explodes, leaving Amy dazed and Ben injured on the ground. Ethan quickly takes Ben and Amy to the hospital, anxious about their condition. The doctor reassures Ethan that Ben's injuries, although serious, are not life-threatening and that he will recover. David, the town's leader, arrives at the hospital and expresses his disappointment at the reckless actions of the group. Pam, demonstrating her diplomatic skills, manages to calm David down. She suggests organizing a celebration to remind the residents of the benefits of living in Wayward Pines. Meanwhile, David notices something unusual about Ruby, an employee at a coffee shop. Curious, he returns to the headquarters to track her and discovers she has removed her surveillance chip. Ethan, seeking information, talks to Kate, but she refuses to help, stating her desire for the people to be free. Suspicion grows within the town's leadership as David suspects someone on his team is aiding the rebels, given the high level of surveillance in the town. He instructs Pam to conduct an internal investigation. The investigation reveals that Reggie, a surveillance worker, has been erasing footage of residents expressing discontent and questioning their situation. Reggie defends his actions, claiming it's natural for people to question their environment, leaving David disappointed and concerned. Ben, recovering in the hospital, is visited by Megan, who blames Ethan's decision to release Harold for the recent events. Elsewhere, Howard and two members of the rebellious group, Alan and Eric, hide in the woods. Eric dies to his injuries from the bombing, and Alan resolves to bury him outside the fence once they escape. Harold and Alan then steal a semi-truck in their desperate bid for freedom. During the town's celebration, David observes the residents' growing unease and asks Mayor Brad to address the crowd. However, Ethan interrupts the mayor's speech, revealing the events of the previous night and urging everyone to return home due to the threat posed by the criminals. David, angered by Ethan's actions, leaves in frustration. Ethan visits Ben, who expresses disappointment in his father's actions and questions whether Ethan would have made the same decision if Harold wasn't Kate's husband. Teresa, suspecting Megan is influencing Ben's thoughts, decides to confront her, deepening the tension and uncertainty in Wayward Pines. Meanwhile, the tension between David and Pam escalates after Pam lies to him about Reggie's action, telling him no one from the staff is doing wrong. David already knows about Reggie's actions of erasing surveillance footage, and he contemplates punishing him. However, Pam argues against such measures, especially for staff members who joined the program voluntarily. When Pam admits to lying to David, he takes her to witness an alternative form of punishment, placing Reggie into hibernation in a chamber, demonstrating a different approach to discipline within the staff. Ethan and Teresa have a heart-to-heart in the waiting room. Ethan confesses a past mistake where he released a criminal who subsequently bombed multiple cities. He explains that he couldn't disclose this classified information to her at the time, leading him to seek comfort with Kate, which eventually turned into a romance. Later, Ethan learns about a stolen semi-truck and decides to investigate, while Teresa confronts Megan, warning her to keep her distance from their son, Ben. Kate's past is revealed through flashbacks, showing her shackled and demanding to speak with someone in charge, only to be sedated by Pam. In another memory, Kate deceives David into believing she has accepted life in Wayward Pines, masking her true feelings and intentions. During a visit from David, Kate confronts him about his real identity and accuses him of trapping people in the town. David, however, insists that his actions are for safety, not freedom. Meanwhile, Harold and Alan plan to escape using the stolen truck to break through the isolation wall. Harold, conflicted about leaving Kate behind, ultimately lets Alan go alone. Creating a diversion, Harold runs into the woods with Ethan in pursuit. Ethan captures Harold and demands information about the rest of the group. As the semi-truck crashes into the wall, creating an opening, Alan, excited at escaping, is quickly surrounded and devoured by Abbeys. At the breach in the wall, Ethan confronts and kills an Abbey. Concurrently, a student named Jason and his friends storm the sheriff's office, demanding the execution of the rebellious group. David, responding to the town's mounting fear and paranoia, instructs his team to repair the fence swiftly. He informs Ethan that the townspeople, fueled by fear, are calling for retribution against the terrorists. David identifies Kate as the leader of the rebels and pressures Ethan to execute her to protect Wayward Pines. Ethan remains committed to his moral code and brings Harold into the interrogation room, seeking information about his co-conspirators. Faced with horrifying photos of Alan's death at the hands of the Abbeys, Harold reveals a list of 14 names associated with their group. However, tracking their whereabouts becomes challenging as their chips are discovered in drink glasses, indicating the group has gone off-grid. At the hospital, a secretive Pam hands Teresa a keycard for Plot 33. Teresa, taking a risk, destroys a CCTV camera to access an underground tunnel undetected. Meanwhile, Ben learns from Pam that Amy is in critical condition with brain swelling, requiring emergency surgery. Overcome with grief, Ben is further manipulated by Megan, who visits him and insinuates that his father's mistakes are to blame. Megan presents a dilemma to Ben, questioning whether the town's safety should be prioritized through punishment. Outside, Ben sees a group of students who share Megan's view that the injuries to him and Amy were caused not by Harold's group, but by Ethan's actions as the new sheriff. Under Megan's influence, Ben begins to publicly condemn his father, expressing that those who break the town's rules should face consequences. Ethan, sensing the rising anger and potential for violence, rushes outside and sees the students marching towards the police station. They forcefully take control, demanding the keys to the cells and asserting that they should be the ones to safeguard the town's future. In a tense standoff, the agitated students led by Jason prepare to execute the captured rebels. Ethan arrives just in time, preventing Kate's execution by shooting Jason. Ethan then speaks with Kate, urging her to divulge information about her remaining allies to prevent further bloodshed. Resigned to her fate, Kate expresses a preference for execution by Ethan rather than falling prey to the mob. In the midst of this, Teresa arrives with critical information from Pam, including a secret passage leading to a room filled with video recordings of survivors who have escaped Wayward Pines. This evidence finally convinces Teresa and Kate of the reality Ethan had been asserting about the outside world. Ethan, Kate, and Teresa then strategize to reveal the truth to the rest of the town. Unbeknownst to David, who continues to monitor the town, a significant revelation is about to unfold. Ethan requests a meeting with David as the townspeople gather in the square, anticipating Kate's punishment. The stage is set for a pivotal moment that could alter the future of Wayward Pines and its residents. In a bold move, Ethan uses this opportunity to reveal the truth about Wayward Pines' origins, the real state of the outside world, and David's dictatorial regime. The revelation silences the previously excited crowd as Ethan condemns the oppressive leadership that has forced them to live in constant violence and fear. Supporting Ethan's stance, Kate speaks up, stressing that embracing the truth can unite the townspeople rather than divide them. Megan, however, defiantly defends David, proclaiming him as humanity's savior. Teresa intervenes, physically confronting Megan to halt her harmful propaganda. In a dramatic turn of events, David, holding the master controls, cuts off all power in the town, deactivating the isolation fences and electric barriers. This alarming act prompts the Abbeys, the evolved mutants, to gather in large numbers outside the town's perimeter. As darkness envelops Wayward Pines, the Abbeys breach the isolation wall, posing an immediate threat to the residents. Panic ensues, and Pam contacts Ethan to inform him that 6 Abbeys have penetrated the town's defenses. Ethan instructs the townspeople to meet him at the bunker in Plot 33. He then leads Kate and members of the rebellious group to the police station to arm themselves, while Teresa heads to the hospital to collect Ben and Amy. Simultaneously, Pam confronts David, pleading with him to restore order and protect the residents. David, however, insists that the town needs a cleansing and plans to awaken a 3rd group later. Despite Pam's desperate appeals, David remains unmoved and orders his security to detain her and her volunteer staff. At the police station, Ethan and his group gather as many weapons as they can. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Teresa faces resistance from a doctor who claims that Amy is too weak to move. Undeterred, Teresa insists on evacuating them, given the dire situation. However, the doctor is later attacked and killed by the Abbeys when he checks on the generator. The Abbeys' invasion unleashes chaos throughout Wayward Pines. Kate and the remaining members of the rebellious group attempt to fend off the Abbeys but are outnumbered, leading to the deaths of all but Kate. When the doctor fails to return, Teresa goes to look for him, only to realize the Abbeys have infiltrated the hospital. She hurries back to protect Ben and Amy, but they are soon attacked by the Abbeys. In a timely rescue, Ethan arrives and manages to save them, highlighting the dire circumstances and the struggle for survival in the face of the overwhelming threat posed by the Abbeys in Wayward Pines. As the situation in the town grows increasingly dangerous, the survivors seek refuge in a tunnel. Ethan, determined to find a way out, questions Megan about the tunnel's destination. After some hesitation, Megan discloses that it leads to an elevator, which takes them to David's headquarters located in the mountains. The group, except for Megan who stays behind to wait for any additional students, proceeds towards the elevator. Simultaneously, a group of students breaks into the police station, freeing their fellow students, including an injured Jason. They discover a bunker at the school stocked with supplies, seemingly prepared for them as the town's first generation. At David's headquarters, Pam is forcibly placed in a hibernation chamber. Meanwhile, Ethan and Kate manage to reach the elevator and ascend to David's office. Upon their arrival, they encounter security guards but successfully overpower them, signaling for others to follow. In a surprising twist, one of the guards awakens Pam from her hibernation. As Amy and the first group of people enter the elevator, Teresa, Ben, and other survivors wait for the second group. However, their plan is frustrated when the Abbeys break through the tunnel, killing Megan and advancing towards the elevator. Amy reaches the headquarters and urgently informs Ethan about the Abbeys' breach. Ethan bravely decides to go back down to fend off the Abbeys, allowing the rest of the group, including himself, to board the elevator. David, observing the chaos, turns off the elevator, trapping Ethan and the group midway. As the Abbeys close in on the elevator shaft, the group decides to exit and climb the stairs. Ethan remains behind to set up a bomb, intending to halt the Abbeys' advance. At a tense standoff, Kate holds David at gunpoint, demanding he restore power to the elevator, but he refuses. In a shocking turn of events, a gunshot rings out, but it's Pam who shoots David, ending his reign. The Abbeys begin to break into the elevator, prompting Ethan to make the ultimate sacrifice by detonating the bomb, saving the others but losing his own life in the process. In the aftermath, Ben, anxiously searching for his father, is knocked unconscious. Meanwhile, Pam shows Kate the hibernation chambers, and they agree to collaborate, forming a new alliance based on mutual trust. This marks a significant shift in the power dynamics within Wayward Pines and sets the stage for the unfolding events in the town's future. In the dramatic conclusion of the season, Ben awakens in the hospital, emerging from a coma that lasted over 3 years. He is greeted by Amy, who, now a nurse, behaves as though she doesn't recognize him. Amy cautiously informs Ben that they are under constant surveillance, echoing the oppressive atmosphere that still rules Wayward Pines. She breaks the news to Ben that it's been 3 years and 4 months since he fell into the coma, indicating that much has changed in his absence. Driven by a mix of confusion and curiosity, Ben leaves the hospital to explore the town. He quickly realizes that Wayward Pines is once again under the grip of fear and strict surveillance, now enforced by the first-generation kids. These youngsters have come to idolize David as a visionary leader and savior, continuing his legacy of control and manipulation. As Ben walks through the town, he encounters unsettling changes. He observes one of the first-generation students now serving as the town's sheriff, symbolizing the new order in Wayward Pines. To his dismay, Ben comes across a statue erected in honor of David, further cementing David's influence and ideology in the town. He sees the hanging bodies of Ethan and other members of the so-called Reckless Group displayed around the town. This haunting scene leaves Ben contemplating the future of Wayward Pines.